Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Roofr Spotlight. It is your host Matt Radford, and tonight we're talking to John Tucker about objection handling. If you're not sure what objection handling is the process of addressing and overcoming concerns or doubts raised by potential customers or clients. It involves listening, empathizing, clarifying the objection, providing a relevant response, reframing the concern into a positive aspect, and following up to ensure resolution. Effective objection handling builds trust and helps move the customer toward a favorable decision. So, joining me today is John Tucker. He is the owner of Friend and Roofing. So let's all give a warm welcome to John. Where are you here, John? Let me add you in. There he is. All right, a warm
Hey,
welcome for John. Yeah,
look at that
welcome,
view.
John.
I'm not
Beautiful.
talking about me, I'm talking about that lake.
That's beautiful. Where are you right now?
The home's on the market, so I don't know if I should say, but I'm in East
Well, I
Tennessee.
mean, like locate, like area. What state are you in, and the
Yeah,
general area of the? Yeah.
East Tennessee.
Oh, very nice. So, what is that body of water there?
Actually, it's technically a river.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone calls this a lake out here, which is kind of funny, but it's such a slow moving and such a large river that it's like swimming in a lake.
Wow. Do you fish it? Do you go fishing at all?
You don't really. This is a taboo thing for me to say. We're around the locals. There are like 2 chemical plants and 1 paper manufacturing facility on this river, just a little bit north of us, and they get to dump their chemicals in the water because stupid FDA guidelines for environmentally friendly crap still allows them to put toxic stuff in the water.
Yeah.
We actually have an earthworm problem around here where several miles away from the shoreline in a lot of places they have found what they call like a green worm.
Mm-hmm.
And basically your earthworms are not red and brown, they're like a yellowish green color because the chemicals have mutated them. So
Do they
everyone swims
glow?
in this water, but I don't know if it's a good idea.
Yeah. Do they glow like glowworms?
Not in the dark, but you'd think that looking at them like, what if we turn the lights out?
Yeah. All right, John. So I watch a lot of your videos, and I know that you deal with a lot of um, objections from homeowners, insurance reps. What are some of the most common objections you encounter with homeowners during in-home presentations?
Usually if we've gotten off of our game and we're not really following the trainings in place, I do that too. Because I also sometimes get out of my state of emotional genius or my best emotional grounding, and
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason get emotional. Like the homeowner tells me how hard life has been lately, or like how their parent who they're really close to, or someone, or spouse, or someone has died and like they're bereaved in some way, or whatever the situation might be. I have a weakness of getting a little bit emotionally attached. And then I end up not providing the same consistency and value and the actual value that our company's known for and what I founded the company to provide. And it upsets me.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, our most common objection around here is actually usually centered around not specifically price, because still to this day, I've never had a single homeowner look at a line item on our proposals compared to somebody else with some other roofers quoting and look at just that line item's price point. Usually the people who have the objection for price tend to be the people who ignore the entire scope of work. So they don't really know what they're assessing for a dollar amount, and they just look at the total dollar amount. So when that happens, it tells me a couple of things. One, they probably don't know anything about roofing, which is why they did not find our very, very detailed proposal very interesting, because they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what the hell I'm talking about, which is a big struggle. The other thing is they don't look at the scope of work. So they don't realize that we've quoted doing 28 different aspects of roofing their home, and the other roofer is only quoting changing the shingles out. And they're not going to remove and
Yeah.
reset your siding to change your flashings. They're not going to install drip edge at your gutters because you can't see from the ground that it's not there. They're not going to tear off the paper felt because they don't want the labor of chasing all those tiny little pieces of black paper all over the yard, and they lay their synthetic over the top. Or we've got a huge problem in my market where how do I want to say this where I don't say something mean? Because I collaborate with and I'm friends with a lot of the roofing owners in my area, and
Yeah.
so I try to be a little more sensitive to what I say, because what the other roofers and what we offer don't match, and I don't want to hold other roofers to mine or our standards.
Hmm.
I don't think that's really appropriate. And
Yeah.
but if you're not meeting code minimum, which is the absolute minimum in Section 1 of the code book, no matter what state of the U.S. you're in, the IRC code book talks about the intent. It's R like 103.2 or .1. It's like the first or second code line besides the paragraph intro for the entire code book, and it's labeled intent. I'm going to mess with the quote, but basically it's saying that our code minimums are for the homeowner's safety. It's protecting them, visitors, and first responders in the event there's a fire. If you've got the wrong decking on your house, or if the rafters are spaced wrong, or if your last roofer covered up bad decking that was delaminating or already a little bit rotted because they didn't pull the felt off, how are they going to even know half the time, or whatever else? If they did something shady and cut some corners and they don't meet code minimums, what they're doing is they're not only do codes protect the homeowner, everyone living there, everyone visiting, any first responders in the event there's a fire or an ambulance needs to be called. Like imagine how you're going to feel if you have a stroke and you call an ambulance, or your wife or husband has a heart attack and you call an ambulance, and the first responders are running up the front of the house, and there's three very large, very well built, very fit first responders with a stretcher, and as they're walking out the house with you on the stretcher, your whole deck falls off the front of your house, and
Hmm.
now there's a whole bunch of people who need an ambulance and no one to take care of you after your issue,
Yeah.
because you wanted the cheapest price, you ignored the scope of work, you hired a handyman or did it yourself, and you don't know the technicalities of the standards for making something structurally sound. And so that puts everyone who visits your home, everyone who lives in your home, at risk when you don't meet basic codes. Also, by having these code standards, homeowners are given the luxury of having standardized scopes,
Yeah.
right? Every roofer should be quoting a fully code compliant roof. And if you want to say you're the best and you want to say that you're higher quality than average, you need to be able to document and prove in a clear, concise way when you present that to the homeowner that this is what a particular code item is. Like, let's say drip edge, for example,
Hmm.
um, that comes in three different profiles for our market. You can get a 3.5-inch aluminum piece that's run through the machine to make the shape, or you can do 4.5, or you can do 5.5. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out which one's going to provide more protection on the edges of your roof under your shingle, 3.5 or the 5.5. I mean,
Hmm.
but from the ground, you can't tell visually. And so a lot of the roofers out here will slap on 3.5-inch drip edge, and then they want to try and compare our scope to that scope. And it's like,
Right.
one, a lot of times we find the roofers not even quoting new flashings. They're not quoting siding labor for changing the flashing on where it meets the wall, where the roof meets the wall. Or they're not defining in their proposal what drip edge profile they run. If you look at
Right.
the line description on our drip edge, it says Front End Roofing only uses premium 5.5-inch profile drip edge, not 4.5 or 3.5 commonly used in our area.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
go,
So the biggest objection that you're facing is when you present your proposal and they've maybe got a proposal from another company, they're wondering why yours is more elaborate than theirs is.
I
And
don't
they're
ever get that question the way you said it. No one has
okay.
yet asked me why my proposal is more detailed.
Interesting.
The price objection is usually just centered around, like, the homeowner sends me a screenshot of the last page or something, and they're like, well, that guy says that my 30 square roof can be done for $12,000. And I'm like, okay, well, it's a 32 square roof. For us, the price is 21,000, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is the other roofer quoting? Maybe I can look at what they put in their quote and tell you what parts of your job they're not quoting, and then I can explain why the things they've left out are important in protecting your property value.
Right. So
Uh,
with the price point objection, do you do proposals? Your proposals, are they lump sum or do you do line item proposals?
well, Roofr actually gives you what, 3 or 4 different ways to present your pricing.
Hmm.
You can put the price on every single line item, and then at the bottom it runs a whole total for the whole thing. Or for us, we do it lump sum style and itemized style,
Okay.
because we can run our proposals where it shows the measurement and quantity for each individual line item, as well as our descriptions have the code that applies to it. So a homeowner who is discerning and does look at our scope, they can very easily just take 2 minutes out of their day, Google the codes and see that that code does apply to that item. Or they can ask us and we can just hand them information. But what was I just saying before? Oh, so ours, every single one of our line items shows the quantity of installs. So how many feet, how many square foot. And then at the bottom, it does have a lump sum total. And the reason being is, one, I really am not concerned with what a homeowner's judgment of our price point is.
Yeah.
You called us by referral and reputation. So when someone calls us to ask us a question about their roof, we've already earned their business when all their friends and family said, call Friend Roofing and nobody else. And if you want what has built our reputation so rapidly in such a short amount of time, that's redundant. What has built our reputation to be so rich in such a short amount of time, if you want that on your home and you want that ease of roof install, you want that lack of worries, you want that peace of mind afterwards that our work is warranted for life, then the price point of what we do compared to someone who's warranting their work for 3 years because they know they cut corners and they know it's not going to make it very far and they don't want to be pulled into court, it's not comparable. You cannot compare a tomato to an apple. Yeah, they're both fruits. They're both red. But a tomato and an apple are not the same thing.
No, that's right.
So over here, and that was one of the things when I started my company, that one of my feelings was that a lot of the public thinks a roofer is a roofer. Just go call a whole bunch and get quotes, find the best price because they're all the same. And I'm like, I understand the logic, and especially working as a sales in my area.
We lost you for a second there, John.
I was gonna say, like, I understand the homeowner sentiment, and when they think a roofer is a roofer. And of course, we both see it in the roofing groups. We see people posting up stuff other roofers have done, or unfortunately, when I don't mean this to be disrespectful in any way or be judgmental, but we see when the homeowner is in a situation where they are motivated to try and do the roof work themselves, and we see the results of it. So we get to see all the horror stories. But also for me, early in my sales career, very quickly building a reputation with the people I served, I got to be called out a lot on referral to look at other roofers' work when it leaked. So very quickly, you start to get a feel for what other roofers do. Or you're doing an install there, and you go knock on the neighbor's house. You're like, hey, I see you got a new roof. Did you realize your roofer did not install the code-required drip edge flashing under your shingles? Are you still in their warranty period? Because they're required by state law to put that on your house. And right now, your home's at risk of water going under the shingle. You know,
so do you ever help them follow up with their warranties with the other roofers, or do you just leave it in their hands at that point?
And you want to talk about some messed up confrontations. Woo-wee.
Yeah.
Try a roofer who just installed a roof, and I'm seeing that roof, and it's less than a year old, and the homeowner calls us out for our 62-point roof assessment. All right, they're going to end up getting over 50 pages of information. We are going to verify what their decking is, what their decking material is, with the code associated in section 5. We're going to identify your underlayment, if it's button kept down or stapled down. We're going to identify what brand your underlayment is. We're going to identify what brand your field shingles are. We're going to identify if you have starter shingle like you're supposed to, or if the roofer thinks they're saving money by buying 1 million bundles of field shingle to put on the outside edge. We're going to identify the brand of the starter used. A lot of times we come out and we'll look at like a GAF field shingle, and it's a GAF Timberline architectural shingle, but the starter shingle is like Tamco Heritage.
That's right.
And it's like, oh, okay, y'all just bought the cheapest package of asphalt stuff you could find. Got it.
Yeah.
And what's messed up is most roofers pay their crews based on per package of shingle installed. And if they really understood the system and they really understood how the roof went together, they would learn that one bundle of starter shingle for like $130 is a lot less expensive than the 4 bundles of architectural field shingle you just put on.
Yeah.
$43 or so per bundle of field shingle right now. So do the math. You multiply that by 4, you're looking at $170. Versus you can get a bundle of starter shingle from Owens Corning will cover the same distance as a GAF Timberline under the corners. And you end up paying your crew for 4 bundles of shingle, plus paying $170 for those 4 bundles, instead of paying for 1 bundle of starter installed and only paying like $130 for that starter. And
Yeah.
so I don't understand why a lot of the roofers I encounter think putting the field shingle and the waste under the edge of the roof counts as a starter. It costs more
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
it doesn't work as well. It gives you 8 inches or 6 to 8 inches of shingle flapping on the outside edge of your roof. Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to some of your competitors here, and I'm not asking you to call them out or anything like that, but how do you handle objections from customers who have been influenced by negative information from your competitors? So a competitor comes in and just uses propaganda and lies about you or says negative stuff. How do you deal with that going into an in-home presentation where you've already been talked about?
So the very first thing I would tell them is, look, that's a really good question. I would love to tell you how we explain the things differently instead of trying to manipulate you or coerce you or charm you into buying our roofing system. Um, but we are going to sit here and educate you. And at the end of the day, it's your home and your choice what you pay. So we're
Mhm.
not going to try and coerce you. We're probably not going to follow up after we send you the information. We're going to tell you it was great to meet you and what a sweet dog or kids or something you had. And just let us know when you have questions, because as soon as you're ready, I'm sure you do have some questions looking at all this information. Um, and the other thing I tell someone when they're like, well, how do I know if you're full of shit, John, or if the other guy's just lying off his ass? And I'm like, well, so a phrase I learned many, many years ago when I was in a different sales environment was documentation beats conversation.
Mhm.
And so for me owning my company, I've learned really quickly that anytime there's a confrontational moment, like when I'm going to war against the supplier trying to defend price points so the homeowners aren't being gouged, or when I'm dealing with an insurance adjuster who wants to commit felonies thinking that that's what they're supposed to do, trained by the insurance carrier a certain way to do things to pay for their family's needs, having worked in the insurance world, I understand that the insurance representatives are trained to think that contractors are greedy. Don't ever trust a
Mhm.
contractor on an insurance claim, and especially don't trust roofers, because 80% of 80% of insurance claims are roofing claims, and those roofing assholes go up and down the street coercing people into filing claims when they don't even have a leak inside their house yet.
Mhm.
One, we can see our work, so we're running by knocking on your door when we see a problem with your roof. There are a lot of door knocking roofers who are extremely dishonest. They'll crease shingles, they'll put ball bearings and bolts to their boots to make shingle indents or impact
Really?
marks.
People do that?
You've not seen any of those posts?
No, I haven't seen them.
A guy in our area in 2018, which I was at State Farm then, and then I started selling roofs in 2019. But a guy in 2018 actually went to prison for it.
Wow.
He would knock doors and he'd get up on the roof, and he had modified his cougar paws where he put bolts through the cougar paws and ran a nut on the inside of the shoe. I don't know how he did that without hurting his feet, but anyway, he had these bolt heads on the bottom of his cougar paws. So while he walked on the roof, he would just, like the homeowner watching from the ground, he even couldn't even tell. He's very thoroughly working his way through the roof, and it's putting all these dents and holes in the shingle that look like impacts. And the
Wow.
adjusters knew something was funny. They don't ever slap a roofer the very first time they do something.
Mhm.
They flag you, and then they start paying attention, and they build a profile, and they're not going to take you to court and press criminal charges for vandalism against a roofing contractor until they've got several documented cases of you doing something nefarious.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately for the public means that the roofer can get away with doing this for 6 months to 2 years or so before they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you
That's
figure,
interesting.
well, you got to figure, like, there's a bunch of different insurance carriers, and every homeowner
Yeah.
has a different carrier, and every carrier has a unique set of benefits. So
Mhm.
it's all a little different. Well, they don't talk to each other about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if this a roofer is seeing one Allstate, one State Farm, one Farmers, one Tennessee Farm Bureau, one Erie, one Shelter, one um, Amica, one Salina claim, whatever each month, he's seeing 12 different insurance carriers in 1 month, which means
Mhm.
they only all had one opportunity to document that he's doing something messed up. So it's hard for the insurance to really crack down on us for this stuff, even though they do it. Um,
Yeah.
Dude went to prison.
That's cool. All right, we're
It's
we're side we're getting side railed here. We can go down some rabbit holes talking about this kind of stuff. It's really interesting to me. But getting back to the objection handling, so the key is
yeah,
to just
documentation.
educate the homeowner, documentation, yeah,
Yeah, so
and
instead
provide
of me
evidence
trying
to
to
back up.
explain it to them, I would just go, hey, would it be a terrible idea if instead of me talking to you about some stuff, I just showed you documentation? And a really fun thing is our attorney makes us, if we are called out to fix some other roofer's work, we're required by the attorney's recommendation to document everything that goes on and keep track of it. So I think right now there's 14 local roofers in our files where we have been paid consistently over and over and over to come back behind that roofer who's making the same code compliant mistake and fix the work.
Yeah.
I've got multiple homes with the same roofer. Some of them I've only got one occurrence, but either way, I have to document it. It's not because I want to talk shit. It's not because I want to run their name to the ground. However, in those moments where the homeowner is concerned about who to trust, us or them, if it's one of those roofers that's in my files, myself or our reps can very easily look up that company name in our customer files.
Yeah.
And then show the homeowner, like, look, you go ahead and look at these pictures, Mr. Homeowner, and let me know what you think about this. I'm not going to give you my opinion. I'm not going to say anything. This is just documentation of us being paid by other homeowners to come behind that roofer and fix what they did wrong. And you can see how it negatively affected the home and how much money the homeowner had to pay getting it fixed and what the patchwork looked like after it was done. If your shingles are on your house for several years, even the same exact brand shingle in the same color is not going to match.
Yeah.
And in Tennessee, we have a reasonably uniform appearance right, and you really don't want to have a repair 3 years after your roof is put on, and then 10 years after your roof is put on, you have a wind event, and your insurance goes, well, we only have to pay for those 25 shingles because you already created a precedent of not caring about your uniform appearance.
Yeah. Okay. So this is interesting. So I know that it's you and Matt they're doing the majority of the sales, right? But you also do the repairs. Now, do you find it beneficial to have sales reps that are also repair people so they can repair and then upsell or do the objection handling right there on the spot?
Yep. So one, I founded my company with a slightly unprofessional mission, and it's still in our About Us pages on every proposal. It's still in a lot of our marketing. It's still on our website. But Friend in Roofing, in a less than professional way of saying it, was founded to give the homeowners a roofing company they can trust, who does things exactly how the people who are smarter and more invested than us have said it need to be done. So we follow and exceed every single manufacturer and code specification. And we also were founded to, as it's point blank, word for word, skip the salesperson's bullshit. And some of the older clientele don't really like me saying that, but it's funny. Whatever. It's true. It's what it is. I know that you went to the Vietnam War and you've seen and done things that are far more crass than me saying bullshit. Whatever. Yeah. So when it comes to my training programs and our training audits and our continued education with reps, you've seen firsthand exactly how much Matt knows. Matt's not even been selling roofs and doing roof work for a whole year yet. All right. He is still in his very first year. And yet consistently roofers across the country in these other groups think he's been doing this for as long as 10 years.
Yeah.
That should be a giant, I'm very proud of that feedback. It's a giant indication that my training is good, even though I think it's got a lot of room for improvement still. However, one of the things I do is I don't train and I don't hire and I don't bring into our team sales reps. I bring in people who have a passion for sales as a point of service, and they're trained to be roofing experts.
Okay, so this is great. So this will actually segue into my next question. How do you train your team to handle objections effectively, both during the sales process and after the service is completed?
By teaching some rather unique communication methods. Like, would it be crazy for me to say that most of us don't spend enough time developing our communication skills?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
especially with ChatGPT. ChatGPT does a lot of my communicating for me now. It's
I like some of the Roofer of the Month stuff, and y'all put some tears in my eyes over some very, very well written things. I also kind of wonder if it's ChatGPT written and human edited.
No, those are from the heart. Those are from the heart.
Oh, anything Roofer does, but I mean, the fact that y'all would use ChatGPT to build the basic outline, then make human edits, even shows more heart and care. But
oh yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, so with us, Other companies would send a salesperson out to your home and look at
Mm-hmm.
your issue, take pictures of it, and get some measurements of the area, maybe even identify what the existing shingle is, and then they would send all that to the company office or forward it to their roofing sub, and then the roofing sub is going to be like, well, I need this much material, and I'm going to charge you this much money to do that, Mr. Roofer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the roofer turns around, adds their markup on it, and sends it to the homeowner. With us, we have far better ways of explaining how things should be done and why we quoted what we're quoting to have done, and we have a much more thorough and accurate assessment of your need because of how my roofers are trained to be roofing experts and not salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the homeowner, when they hire us for a repair, they get repairs at cost. Any repair that's under $3,000 where it does not require you to be licensed in the state, our homeowners get the luxury and the savings of contracting direct with that roofing rep right
Oh,
there.
interesting. Yeah.
And they're the
That's
one who's going
great.
to come out and execute it. And we all know salespeople have usually a lot more adaptable schedules. There's no, oh, we contracted it and now we need to get the deposit in our account and now we need to go ahead and schedule the crew and we're going to show up 3 weeks later to fix your roof leak.
Yeah.
By having my roofing experts do it, one, the homeowner pays a much lower price point. Two, they actually get to meet and know the person who's doing the install. Three, they have someone who's explaining how the whole roof gets put together and exactly why they're quoting what they're quoting. And four, it gets done a lot faster.
Yeah.
And the reps like it because that's not on their 1099 at the end of the year.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
It's just
here,
cash in
it's
pocket.
story time. I want you to tell me a story. I want to
Okay.
hear a story about how you had a very negative customer that didn't like you and didn't want to go with you, but you turned it around into a positive customer experience and maybe even got a good Google review. Do you have any stories like that, or you just?
Yeah. What roofer
Yeah.
doesn't end up with a cash flow problem, desperately needing to contract some more work so they can make things run more smoothly or pay their guys?
Yeah.
There have been a lot of times where I have a homeowner where I know that I can ask a bunch more quality questions, be a little more critical in things, and get to the root of what is motivating the homeowner, what they're seeing in the contract that they're benefiting from, and present our help from what they're seeing. And I will bend over a little more backwards, a little bit more, unfortunately, in those moments where the cash flow's tight
Mm-hmm.
to contract the work. And which is unfortunate because in my training and me and conversationally, I routinely say things like, look, if the homeowner is like struggling to grasp what's going on and they're causing difficulties for us before they've made a deposit for work, just
Mm-hmm.
let them loose.
Yeah.
Let them loose because we
Yeah.
haven't even gotten to the hard part and the stressful part yet. We're not even at build day. If you're
Yeah.
already stressed out when we're just discussing things, it's going to cost me a lot more time and money to help you than it is to just move on down the street and find somebody who is capable of understanding the value that we present and contracting them. But even this year, we helped a homeowner, and it was a State Farm claim. We prepped those homeowners with knowing it's going to take at least 9 months. It can be as fast as 30 days. What seems to us is the defining factor on how long it takes with a State Farm claim is how willing the homeowner is to be involved in the process. Their voice matters on a claim more than a contractor's does.
Yeah.
And so if the State Farm homeowner is not okay with confrontation, or if they try to push themselves to be okay with confrontation to get their $30,000 problem fixed, they're timid about it. The insurance adjusters, they know this. They
Mm-hmm.
identify the fact that you're timid. They identify the fact that you get stressed out in a confrontation. And they take advantage of it.
Oh, I
So
bet.
with State Farm claims, it's all about how well they want to collaborate. Well, this homeowner, because our process is not to fight the insurance. Our process is to be a friend to both the insurance and the homeowner and to be an expert with superior knowledge and documentation and communication ability
Mm-hmm.
when discussing your issue. Um, we do not fight the insurance. We do not negotiate on your behalf. We are not policy experts. It is not what we should be doing as contractors in our state. We do not have the licensing to be discussing policy and negotiating on a homeowner's behalf, despite the fact
Yeah.
that so many roofers are successful doing so. It is illegal. Um,
Okay.
so for us, our process is not fighting the insurance. Our process is empowering the homeowners to defend themselves against the bully who's trying to steal money that's owed to them when they have a problem. and we get feedback from home. When I shifted from fighting the insurance to that empowerment process, I started getting a lot of feedback where homeowners like, we're so thankful for your help. You actually made this really fun. Our insurance adjuster was an asshole, but it was so awesome when you gave me examples of what other homeowners with my insurance in this situation have done to get positive traction. And I just copy pasted what you sent, John. And it was so much fun watching the insurance adjuster turn around and write a check for thousands of dollars more every time you gave me a script example of what another homeowner had done. But this State Farm homeowner was difficult the whole time. He has what contractors call a PhD syndrome, where they believe that they are worth more. They believe that they're smarter and better than the people in the room because of their college education. And that drives me nuts as someone who dropped out of college for seeing some problems with the business model alone, not getting what I paid for when it comes to education. And
I felt the same way about high school, man.
I didn't
I didn't finish high school.
I did not either. I moved out.
Stay in school, kids. Stay in school, or else you're gonna end up like John and I.
Yeah, stay in school to pay attention, to learn something, be engaged. Shoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dropped out at 17, moved out of my house. Thankfully, I moved in with this Hispanic woman, and she had a fiery temper. And at one point, she just lost her mind and was yelling and screaming at me in a really messed up way. It pissed me off, but I held my tongue. But she was saying basically, no one living in my house is going to be a delinquent. I'm not going to be part of enabling you to be a slacker in life. So she challenged me to go ahead and get my GED. While getting my GED, I was like, man, these tests seem really simple and remedial. I'm knocking out these modules in half the time allowed. So I told myself then that if I scored well on my GED to graduate from high school, I would go ahead and take my SATs and stuff to go to college. And I did. But I dropped out of community college halfway through my second semester for a disagreement on what I was getting for my money. I wasn't even coming to classes. I had straight A's in that class, and they were going to flunk me for lack of attendance. And I said, look, as a consumer paying for a service to be taught something, I'm not even showing up to class and proving that I already know the things being taught in the syllabus. Am I crazy to think that not only should you not flunk me, you should refund my money?
That's actually the same reason. Well, one of many reasons, but the main reason I dropped out of high school was I was in grade 9 English class, and I had Mr. Sherry as my teacher, and some of the listeners that are friends of mine might remember him. And I was doing really well in the exams. I did really well on the tests, but at the end of the semester, I had 28% in the entire course because I had really poor attendance.
Ew.
And I was like, that was my same argument. Like, you're not grading me on academics, you're grading me on obedience, and I'm just going to fail anyway. So that was, I left.
Yep. Which is funny because what is one thing that all leaders have in common? We rebel against the status quo.
Yeah, I guess so. That's right.
We do. We upturn things. We piss off the people who are established in roles of success and leadership and money.
Yeah.
America and Canada both have people who are very wealthy at the top who bend over backwards to try and keep those of us where we're at down. They've killed off the American middle class, and I'm not going to try and get into politics, but there's people who are wealthier, and they don't want the new generation of community servants to succeed because it takes money to their bottom line, and they ain't going to have it. Which is something I've learned. Last year, we were in 5 litigations because I said enough is enough. Going to year 3 of owning the company, I said I'm sick and tired of watching government officials in our area and contractors get away with stealing from the public. And I openly went after them and ended up finding myself in court a whole bunch. In the end, I realized, you know what? It's frankly not worth it.
They'll just drag it out in litigation for years, right? They'll just keep dumping tax money into it. And
meanwhile, they're still screwing the homeowners over. So I realized that it's probably a better strategy for me to keep my head down, continue educating the homeowners in my community behind closed doors, and not make certain public statements, and no longer do any work for government employees, because I have learned firsthand that they are some of the shittiest people, most dishonest people, hardest, most difficult people to take care of. And they think that with their position of power, they can get away with not paying bills. I still have active liens against some people in the state.
Wow. Interesting.
I'm not taking them off, but things got stalled in court where I didn't want to spend any more money and they didn't want to spend any more money. So we're just kind of in a cold war.
So here's another question. I got another question. So you do door knocking, right?
On occasion. Mostly my door knocking these days is if I'm training a new rep, because one of the benefits of what we do is this is one of the few jobs in America where you can control your own income.
Mm-hmm.
Where as a roofing salesperson or a person working in roofing sales, whichever semantics you want to use to describe that, you have the ability to see the need on someone's house and walk up to their door and provide value. You get
Yeah.
to serve your community. You get to improve property values. You get to protect property values. You get to build amazing relationships where you go to the grocery store every day and people are like, "Oh, John, hey." And they want to tell you about things that have happened with their kids and stuff lately or their dogs. And they year after year after year after we've helped them, we've got a relationship that goes a lot further than roofing.
Yeah.
And so you get that benefit as well as the monetary reward of not being in a job or a salary position or hourly position where you've got a set standard operating procedure and job responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And the coworker next to you wants to be on their phone all day long scrolling social media or in dating apps trying to get laid.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing all their work and your work, because if you don't, you're going to get fired for failing to meet performance because your team isn't executing expectations.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in this line of work, you get paid for what you produce. You get paid based on the how much you are disciplined consistently to develop your skills and provide more value.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
better you build relationships and the more homes you're able to help because you've built trust with people, the more money you're going to make. And in order to do that, you get to constantly develop yourself. Like roofing
Well,
is probably one of the best ways to earn money that is a self-development plan that you don't pay for.
well, joke's on you, John, because I was that guy that was on my phone all the time on social media, and now I get paid to be on my phone all the time on social media. So what?
Dude, tell me about it. I've had a couple other roofers who are like, John, you're always on Facebook. I'm like, well, one, it's my only social platform. Two, I would delete it if I wasn't getting paid like large amounts of money through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which actually, that's probably not the right way to say things because I don't pull off the company. When I sell a roof to a homeowner, every bit of the money goes back to the company to cover expenses and overhead and the cost of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have been living for the last 3+ years entirely on cash repairs.
Wow.
I don't like doing insurance claims because I get to balance out the hours invested helping someone with a claim compared to what the total amount of net profit is on the job. And when you do
Yeah.
it that way, you look at it and you're like, why the hell did I just spend so much time helping this person so I can make $3 an hour the last 9 months?
Yeah, yeah, and often, and I find this up in Ontario, Canada too. If there's damage, the entire roof might not need to be replaced. You can do repairs, and I know a lot of people look to replace the entire roof, but like you said, when you have a hybrid sales rep who does sales and service, they do repairs. They can go up there, do the repair, fix the issue, and then talk to the homeowner about maybe getting that roof replaced if it really needs it. So
Yep.
that's great.
I
That's
mean,
how I
just
used to work
yesterday,
in
Matt
Toronto
went
up
out
here.
to someone's house and they had a hole through their shingle roof. And because I don't train roofing salespeople, he didn't go nailing a piece of tarping down to the roof, unsealing shingles above the hole, and putting a
Yeah,
bunch of freaking nail holes through the roof everywhere. He
yeah,
was like, hey, is it a bad, basically like whatever. He just looked at the homeowner and was like, I'm going to go ahead and piece in some shingles that do not match here
mhm,
because that way I'm not damaging any of the surrounding material. We can identify the material and it can be done with, I think it was 6 shingles.
yeah,
But he pieced in 3 shingles into the roof as a temporary repair instead of putting a tarp down, which would have created a need for like 12 to 14 shingles. So instead of a sales rep who would tarp the hole to provide peace of mind, um, he was able to do a legit temporary repair, which does provide a better protection for the home. And he was able to do it with scraps of shingle from his car from doing a repair earlier that day on somebody else's home. Like he had
gotcha.
a few shingles left over from a different bundle on a paid repair. He then
Yeah,
used them to get paid for temporarily patching someone's roof until he can adequately assess if that material is available.
interesting.
It's very neat. The
Yeah,
value that I don't even yet know how to present it, but the value a homeowner gets when they call someone from our company out is massively different than what they get somewhere else. Like,
yeah,
could I ask you a question right now?
sure.
So you're in these roofing groups. You
Hmm.
see the pictures these other roofers post up going, what the hell, this insurance company's not paying for it. Look at this close up of a shingle. Like, this thing's beat. This whole house is ruined. Look at this one picture close up of this one shingle. Can't you tell?
Hmm.
Um, and so you see firsthand exactly what these free inspections almost every roofer in the country provides. and how they don't provide enough documentation for the homeowner or an insurance representative to understand the context of where that is or what's going on.
Yeah.
Versus, like, I don't know if you can see it, I'm in the middle of an assessment here, so I've got a test square and different marks written down in chalk, and I'll go and take close-up pictures of every single one of those pieces, damaged areas, and then I'll do 2 more pictures. One's the close-up, but then the next 2 are a little bit further back, and then an overview, so that anybody looking at these pictures, homeowner or insurance, they can tell exactly what that thing looks like close up and see that it is damaged beyond repair. And then they can see where it is in the context of that location with the rest of the home. So that allows us, when we come out and do one of our paid assessments, and your homeowner's getting over 200 pictures instead of 15 to 20 from a free inspection, we are able to not just show, hey, you've got some damage problems in a mystery area of your home. Our assessments show the homeowner exactly where they're at, and it paints a better picture of the entire storm event that affected your home. Because while we only do roofs and gutters, I came from the insurance world, so I know an insurance claim is not about your roof. An insurance claim is about documenting every damage consistent with the storm event that is covered by your policy.
Wow.
I'm going to be down there documenting metal flashings above your brick, like, short wall around your home. I'm going to be documenting any cracks or hits from sticks or other wind debris in your siding. I'm going to document your window screens, your downspouts, your gutters, your shutters, your decking boards, your fence, your picnic table,
everything. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
And so it's an entirely different value, and sometimes people don't get it. They'll say things when we tell them we charge to show up, like, "Are you telling me that I have to pay you for a chance to earn my business?" And the funniest thing is I get that rejection a lot, and my response back is, "It's very well practiced." And I say, "Well, sir, is it terrible of me to reply asking you if, when all your friends and family referred that you come help me, that I didn't already earn your business by taking care of them appropriately with value?"
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm like, well, when's the last time you took your car to a mechanic, Matt? What did you have to do? Did you have to drive your car or tow your car all the way to the mechanic? And then after taking time out of your day to do that and spending money doing that, you had to pay them just to give you a quote, and you brought the issue to their office.
Yeah.
We're coming to your home.
Yeah.
We're doing work that is one of the 5 most dangerous jobs you can have in America. And you think you don't have to pay us for our time, sir? It was great meeting you, but I don't invest my time in my life with people who don't value it.
Well, that's it. Like, so when I worked at Mr. Roof Repair in Toronto, we used to do, we paid we charged $149 for a roof assessment. And then if the client, if we did a full assessment, had photos and full documentation and whatnot, they got that report back. And then if there was any repairs to do from there, we would do the repairs. If we did an entire re-roof, we would refund them that $149. You know what I mean?
We did that in year 2. Like, I started charging to come out because I was getting inundated with too many leads and freaking out. And the first thing I did to try and get myself a better emotional center and provide more value so I could actually communicate with the homeowner clear enough for them to understand, I learned that for my first year that running around like a chicken with my head cut off, seeing 40 homes in 1 week, I was rushing through things. I was rushing through the reports. I was rushing through assessments, and my closing ratio was less than 20% for every home I saw.
Wow.
So at first I thought it was great that I had built the reputation. I was so busy on referrals. But then I realized there was no point because I was failing people when I showed up. And I wasn't giving them the value that I found in my company and I worked so hard to provide people. I wasn't giving them the benefit of my full knowledge because I wasn't in control of my time enough to actually clearly communicate their issue and solution. And so I started charging $65 to just put you on my schedule. And that actually filtered out a whole lot of people. But partway through year 2, I was seeing a chick and she constantly complained, as I'm sure every woman who dates a male roofer says, where are you? Because from St. Patrick's to Halloween, we're gone. We're on everybody else's house and never at our own. There's probably at least one day every single week where I work for 48 hours straight. I go home, I start working on reports, invoices, receipts, supply orders, all kinds of stuff. And next thing I know, my alarm goes off to start the next day. And I'm like, well, crap, let's take a real quick shower, throw some water in my face and get to the next appointment.
That was before you had Roofr.
That's even now.
Oh, really?
That's even now.
Yeah, we got to help you speed that up a bit. That's what we're here for.
Well, it's not that providing the information is so labor intensive. one of our roof reports would probably take me 4 to 5 hours to prepare the documentation, but we don't do a lot of those. Even though homeowners should hire us to do those after any roofer roofs their house, they should find a roofer who has that process and procedure and reputation for doing them in place.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of value in when you hire a roofer who's got a 3-year workmanship warranty. Right after the roof's installed, go ahead and call us out, and we'll do our 52-minute assessment, and we're going to identify every single code compliance issue, whether it passes or not. And we're going to identify every aspect of your roof, and we can compare that to what they quoted you. And a lot of times, what the roofer sold you in their contract and what they put on your house don't even match.
Yeah. So charging for an inspection and charging to go and do the appointment, for the people that just want an estimate or a price, you have the instant estimator that you can send them the link. They can get that instant estimate. It creates a lead in your system, and then you don't have to use your time to go and for those tire kickers.
And that instant estimator tool actually provides me a ton of value when bringing a new rep onto the team, because instead of having to teach them all the technical terms of a roof and how to measure the roof, when they're very, very, very new, they can immediately give homeowners an estimate instantly on their doorstep, and it takes them 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
And they don't have to know anything about a roof, because this tool is designed for homeowners who have absolutely no roofing knowledge to be able to accurately get an estimate. So our estimates are done free 24/7 from the comfort of your home in 2 to 3 minutes. Or by a rep knocking on your door when they're brand new. But when it comes to the fully itemized proposals, we can knock out a 30 square cut up gabled roof in like probably 25-30 minutes.
Wow. What's your website? If a homeowner wanted to go to your website and get an instant estimate, what's your website?
All right, you have to pay attention, and I'll talk slow because this is a very, very complicated website. All right.
Yeah.
friendinroofing.com.
That's not. Were you being facetious?
Well, not so much, because facetious by definition would be having a negative connotation. I would say more sarcastic, but sure.
There you go. I got it up there. www.
I didn't graduate college, but I can read and write better than Americans can.
That's right. Hey, John, we got to go here soon. We're running out of time, but I have one more very important question for you. This is the question I ask everybody. What do you prefer, cake or pie?
Pie.
Yeah.
And not your pecan pie, but pecan's your favorite, right?
I don't have a favorite. I just love pie.
I was going to say key lime and apple.
It depends. Fruit stuff. Oh, key lime is good. Yeah, key lime. It depends on the mood, right? So key lime's a good summertime pie, but yeah, pumpkin pie for the fall, and apple pie is good breakfast pie with a side of bacon.
I'm actually on that pie subject. I'm really upset that I have failed you as a friend, because at the International Roofing Expo, I was so busy hanging out with all of you at Roofr, and with the pain that I was in from the flight, you were there. You and I both were having a lot of physical challenges, even functioning. And it was great having so many friends in the roofing industry there who were able to kind of help me with it. And like Richie, the founder of Roofr, a couple of times he put tears in my eyes because he saw me sitting at like a bar in a hotel waiting on a meeting for networking with somebody, and he just comes up behind me and slaps something in front of me to help me with my pain. And but while we were at IRE, I failed to get pie for us to share.
I know.
I wrote
it down. I'm holding you to account, man. Don't you worry.
We'll balance it out at RoofCon this year then.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll get pie a la mode, and then maybe I'll send you a pie to go home on the plane if I can find one small enough to match these crazy, stupid flight requirements.
I'm not getting on a plane again at this point, but I'm
really?
driving. Yeah, I'll drive down. I want to drive. So what my ultimate plan would be to, like, if I'm going to RoofCon, do like the road to RoofCon with Roofr Matt and drive down a week before and just hit some cities on the way and visit with some roofers and just hang out.
Hit roofing companies.
Yeah, that's right, and hang out. So that's the dream, but we'll see.
Well, we're probably driving down because this year most likely will be more than 4 of us.
Oh yeah.
Like right now at this moment, it is 4 of us, and the company expense of 4 flights and then 2 hotel rooms with double beds ends up being kind of nuts in comparison to renting an Airbnb and me just putting everybody in the dually.
Yeah.
So, and the dually's long, it's really comfortable on highways, so It's got for a 30-year-old truck. It's cool. It's got air conditioning and a bunch of modern features. So full leather bucket seats and stuff, heated seats in the front. Like it's a little bit nicer than your normal 30-year-old truck.
Yeah.
And I think one, the diesel cost plus the freedom of being able to drive somewhere or get groceries and cook them inside the Airbnb instead of paying for breakfast every day. Or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's a lot more value in time freedom. Like I don't have to worry about what time our flight leaves and cutting the networking and the value of learning from other people in our trade short. I can make plans and set plans, and we have more freedom.
Yeah, more freedom. That's great. All right, John, we're going to get going. I can smell dinner upstairs, and my mouth's starting to water, and I don't want to spit all over my microphone. So,
dude, I'm going to keep losing weight with the heat and not eating.
No, I'll eat enough for you. Don't worry. I'm sit behind a desk and eat a lot, so I'm like my middle-aged spread is starting to show. But anyway, John, it was really good talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be chatting again.
Of course. Talk to you later.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming and listening to us today talk about objection handling. You can follow John Tucker, Your Friend in Roofing, on Facebook, and also check out his website, www.friendinroofing.com. This is Roofr Matt with the Roofr Spotlight with your Roofer of the Month, John Tucker. Over and out.